Yes, sir.
Oh, didn't see you guys there.
That's the second time we're being caught off guard, man. Backstage.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Ladies and
Welcome,
gentlemen,
guys.
welcome to the Collective Bargaining Podcast. We are back again, 10 straight weeks of nonstop sports. Guess, we're going to have the best lineups. We're going to be talking about a lot today. It's just going to be me and Mike today, um, going at it with basketball points. We'll be talking about the MVP race, what we think there. We're going to be talking about some of the NCAA action. Of course, we're going to have the SBC section, right? We got to hit Mike with the SBCs and
You on this
um,
SBC, man.
we gotta hit you with the SBCs. We'll have some maybe some differences today. We'll probably have about 2 to 3 other sports that we're gonna
Okay.
hit you with
Cool.
today. So we'll try to change it up and mix it
Okay.
up, But definitely win it today. By the way, what's on the menu? What was that? It looked like a Guinness, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, it is a Guinness, but I took out the
Ah,
label just
there
in
you go.
case.
There you go. Yeah. I know. You gotta. Makes sense. Makes sense. It means the vision is still right from my end.
Hey,
So hey,
you
I'll
can still
take it. I'll
see.
take it. So ladies, and gentlemen, if you're joining us, welcome to the podcast. We're gonna dive right into
Let's go.
the NBA and what's happening across the league right now. So the playoff race is heating up right now.
Yep.
And the Celtics have dominated and held a gap on the East for quite some time. But I have to ask you, are the Celtics slipping? Are they, are they in a position right now where you legit, based on their dominance that they've had for the season, are they slipping or are they legitimate contenders right now?
Cool. It's funny you should say that though, because I was actually going to get a quick contender or pretender small
Ah,
segment.
so
Let's,
should I
yeah,
should
and
I
the Celtics were actually at the top of the list,
so the
which was
question is,
interesting.
should I hold off on discussing the Celtics with you then? Should we take a step back and
No, I mean
and go
we
through
could
your
we could
list?
still discuss the Celtics. We
All
can still
right,
discuss
all
the
right,
Celtics.
all right. So what are your
Um,
thoughts on them? They've been dominant, right? But at the same time, there are a lot of questions to ask about the Celtics in tight situations, clutch situations
yeah, especially in the fourth quarter.
in the fourth quarter.
They have not. They do not have what we call a conventional closer, and they
Right,
have a problem with what we said is closing out games.
right,
Um, the what has been going for them all season, while they do play great defense, and they have some of the best offense in the game,
right,
offensive rating in the game, I
right.
should say. Um, the thing is, uh, they blow out teams by at least what is it, 12 points? A
Yep,
net of I think a net of at least 12 points. So
that's
if you
correct.
win by 12 points and you're up, most times they're up by like 20 something points by the fourth. The 12 is not really a reflection of what happened in the fourth, but just where the game ended. They're usually up by more, 20, 30 sometimes. And obviously by the fourth, you have bench guys coming in.
So I have a question
But
for you. What is wrong with the Celtics in the fourth?
they just don't have a closer. I don't know what it
Right.
is.
So it's down to the
Um,
conventional closer point that you raised.
it's I think at this point they don't have a closer and they seem to get away from their team basketball when
Right.
it comes to the fourth quarter. It's like I'll go, I'll see if I can dribble. Tatum, Brown, like a dribble. I'm gonna take it from the top. You're not gonna pass it around or anything, and we're just gonna go. And you're like, but why? The first 3 quarters, y'all were doing great team ball, and now in the fourth, it's like you want to do step backs. You just want to take wild threes. Like Do what works. Make it
Right.
keep it simple. Just keep it simple. Pass
Right.
the ball around. Get an easy shot in the key. Get an easy jumper. I mean, even though those aren't efficient anymore, but get the shots that you were getting in the first 3 quarters.
Right.
But it seems that they always step away from that for some reason.
How much of this is a coaching issue, you would say? How much of this, if we had to break it up by percentage and responsibility, how much of this is down to, because you have to give credit, right? They're the number one in the East.
Yeah,
They've had some great victories. But in terms of the questions that we still have about this team that leads the East, and the confidence in this team to actually go far within the playoffs, potentially win the big chip, how much of a percentage in the way they operate and the flaws we see with the team in the fourth quarter actually falls on the coach as a percentage point?
I'd say like 45%, 45.
Right.
And the players should differ because they at the end of the day, they still have to execute.
They have to execute.
Right?
I agree. I agree.
The coach can say, "All right, I'm gonna take you out of the game," but why would you take out the best player from the game? You
Right.
wouldn't just do that. You have a team, and then they still have to execute what is there. So he may give them a free rein on certain situations.
Exactly. So I
Where
have
they
a
can
question
then-
for you. We need to check our live, and apologies to the audience. We're just gonna do a scan just to make sure that we're actually broadcasting. Yes, we are indeed. So that's a good sign. So right now, and I'm sorry there, we just had to do a quick check just to make sure that everything was in line. So we said 45% falls on the coach.
About that, yeah, 40, 45%.
Now within the player structure, we're saying the rest just falls on the entire team, or are we saying, or does this fall on a specific player that
I would
has that
say-
responsibility that
Well, so
is not
Well,
necessarily you get where I'm going with this?
You're trying to call out Jason.
No, well, I want to be careful. I want to be careful here. But I know we've had our
obviously
internal
you have to
talk
go down
with
to
them.
your two best players.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You have to go
right.
to your two best players on the team.
Right.
Right? It really comes down to your two best players on the team. Maybe one might be hidden that night, and the next one might not be hidden as much. So
Right.
it's like 1A, 1B, even though I don't think it's a 1A, 1B situation. But whatever.
So I'm going to give you a
What?
scenario here,
Oh,
and I want you to tell me what you would do. Right? If they don't make it to the conference final,
mhm.
what do you do with this team as it pertains to Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown? Now we know that the contract that Jaylen Brown is on is, from my perspective, you can't move that contract. I
Nope.
just don't see the ability to move that. What do you do with the Celtics if they don't make it to the conference finals this year?
If they don't make the conference final.
They don't make the conference finals as the number one seed right now.
Yeah. I'm not gonna blow it up though. I'm gonna keep them together.
You keep it together.
Yeah, I'm not gonna blow
Ooh.
up like the. I'm gonna keep.
Ooh.
I'm keeping Jason. I'm keeping Brown. I'm keeping Porzingis.
Ooh.
Like I think the problem, like even though they still need a closeout guy,
Right.
I think that's a problem. Even though Jason Tatum is the number one option, I
Right.
still think he can be a closer.
Right. Right.
Even though he's been there a while now, but I still think he can be a closer. So it's like another year of learning, but at the same time, you get better. I don't know how you could get better than Derek White as a role player,
Right.
But you try to get better role players.
And that's the thing. This team is well constructed.
It's very well constructed.
It's a well constructed team.
It's very well. I don't think people understand.
My take on this, in particular when it comes to the Celtics, is that I think they overpaid Jaylen Brown. I think but I do acknowledge that this is a very young team. This is a team that actually, if you look at their ages, they're not very old.
No,
If you run the comparison to actually the superstars in the league today, you'll actually
They have a long time
acknowledge
to go.
that they have a long time. They still have, for what they've done so far at their ages.
yeah,
It's
So
amazing.
The reason for that is because they started as soon as he came into the league, he was in the playoffs.
Right.
So
But I also I think where the pressure is coming from is the fan base realizes that for the past few years,
Hmm.
these guys have been given great teams, good to great teams to operate with.
Yes.
I
They,
think if you look at the balance of the Celtics,
mhm.
Al Horford, these type of guys have come and and played the game there. They have shooting, they have spacing, they have defensive presence along the perimeter when
Yeah,
playing. It's balanced. And then I
it's very
think what's been expected is that okay, we happen to have two guys that have grown into, I would say, stars, not superstars, but you
okay.
know, and I think Jason Tatum is a superstar right now in the league, just based on outside of the skill
In the
set
league,
and
yes.
other things. I think if you add up all the other things that are needed to be a superstar, he's a superstar at this point.
I agree.
Jalen Brown happens to be the most highly paid player in the league
Star.
right now, and but I don't think he's a superstar, right?
Well,
So
contract wise, not by the year.
right, but these guys have been given the opportunity to actually perform at that high level, and it hasn't really translated to anything much. So
Well, I mean, it's translating in the regular season. They
it
haven't yet
is, it
shown it
is,
in the postseason, but every year they get
yeah,
a little closer. You get a conference finals, conference finals, conference
yeah,
finals, NBA
yeah,
finals. You
right.
know, so it's like they're there.
They are, they are,
I'm trying to honest. Maybe they're trying not to do what OKC did and
yeah, and
bring
break
them
it
up
up,
too
yeah.
early,
But
right?
I think it's OKC was so dynamic.
They were
It was
they were
so
more
dynamic.
dynamic.
Yeah, it just I just yeah. With the Celtics, I see we see far more limitations with this squad just off the surface than we did with the OKC team, right? So
Yes.
yeah, so
So,
that's interesting
yeah.
in
So
the
the only
least,
problem that they have is closing games,
right?
and they haven't had to close many games. But the games that they've had to close,
Right.
they haven't done it that well. And I mean,
So
that blame can only go to Jason because he's the leader of the team.
so as it stands right now, you're the Celtics, right?
Hmm.
You have it right now as it stands today. You have the option of playing the Heat, the Pacers, the 76ers, which is insane, the Bulls, or the Hawks. Who do you pick out of those teams I just mentioned? I'll name them again: the Pacers, Heat, 76ers, Bulls, and Hawks,
So if I
right?
want to play in the first round,
Who do you want to play in the first round if you're the Celtics?
either the Hawks or the Bulls.
Right. I have to agree.
I don't want anybody else. I
So
don't want anybody else.
you clearly don't. Now I have now I have another question here. So Joel Embiid just got back in, right? They're
Yes.
sitting currently in eighth position. I think they're only about 3 games outside of fifth,
Yeah.
right?
That's if he
What
comes
do you
back.
see?
But okay.
What do you see for that team?
It depends on the percentage of his health, though, because right now
Yeah,
we don't. He's clear to play, but
yeah,
like
yeah.
when a guy is clear to play, like you haven't been
You have
doing anything.
limitations. You have
You're not doing
minutes
anything.
limitations, and other things. Yeah,
You've just been there, like doing
yeah.
rehab. It's not like you could do
Agreed.
workouts and this kind of stuff. Like you've just been cleared to play,
Agreed.
and you've been
Agreed.
sitting down for like how long? What, two months now,
Yeah, yeah.
right? So you've been sitting for 2 months. Like
It's great.
sitting for 2 months, that's a lot.
Yeah, it's
That's
true.
a lot. I
It's
mean,
true.
you're well rested,
Right.
but
Right.
in terms of the stamina, whatever, it's difficult.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the East is going to be interesting. Either way you
I
look
mean,
at
Joel is Joel, and Joel will get his buckets either way.
it.
Joel's
so
crazy.
so I mean this is going to be excellent. We have just I think when does the plane start? April, right? This
It,
month?
well, at the yeah,
The
close
end
to
of the
the
month, or is it?
end of the month.
Yeah,
Close to
so
the end.
it's gonna be interesting, man, to see who actually makes it through. I think the ninth and 10th seed are gonna remain as they are. I don't see the Bulls and Hawks really moving up in any position. I think you could see if Embiid plays more games, they try to play themselves into outs of the play-in games, because the less games for him, the better. The more you can conserve Embiid
Yeah,
for the actual playoffs, the better. So I think you see a charge from the 76ers. They're going to try their best to make their way up, and then you'll see some
I mean,
progress there.
all right. If you're watching that playing, You got the Heat
Yep.
right now. If we start the play-in right now, you have the
Yep.
Heat versus the 76ers,
Yep.
and then the Bulls versus the Hawks. So the Bulls versus the Hawks, I honestly might take the Hawks over the Bulls
Yeah.
right now, right? The
Yep.
76ers and the Heat, obviously I'm going to take the Heat, mainly because of Joel's
Yeah.
limitations.
Yeah.
So it's going to be 7. Heat are going to be 7. And then the Hawks and the 76ers going to play. And the wonderful thing about the Hawks is they're insanely great and they're insanely bad at the same time, which makes them immensely average. And they have
Yeah.
been a very average team for the last couple of years.
I
So
think the Lakers.
one day you're going to get greatness, the next day you're not.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So,
think they, due to the trade rumors that they had earlier, and now you're hearing talk of, the two guards have been sort of in the news about with connected to LA, right? The Lakers. So that should be interesting from that standpoint to see how that shakes out
yeah.
and who gets
Well,
traded. You know.
the Lakers have actively said that they will look to get Trey.
Yeah, they're out there. They're
So,
trying to get him. So that's interesting to see how that turns out. I think he would be silly to ignore a big market, especially with the way he shoots the ball,
oh,
and what he brings to the court.
you will have AD if you
If
go
you
to
have
LA.
a playmaker like that, I think that allows Braun to take a step back,
Mm,
and do
mm.
his thing. But
Oh,
we'll
oh,
see.
definitely,
Yeah,
definitely,
yeah, yeah. Because I think
definitely.
that's what he's looking
You
for.
got LeBron, Trey, and AD.
Now the
I mean,
question is,
that's not possible.
what is the contract situation right now, with Atlanta?
Okay, forgot.
I'm I,
Trey. I
so
think Trey is about to enter free agency.
no, he's locked up at 43, 40 to 45 million a year until 26, 27. So
Ooh,
it looks
okay.
like they may try to force a trade. I
Mhm.
don't know how they make the money work in something like that. So when they say they want Trey Young, you got to make 40 million. You got to clear 40 million, to make this a
How,
even trade. And so
so how
maybe a
much is
third
D'Lo?
team. D'Lo makes around, what does he make? I think about 18 to 20
Right.
million a
And then you
season,
got
right?
Austin
So
Reeves.
yeah, we could check. We can check this really quickly. Thank goodness these contracts are public, so we can scrutinize some of
Right.
these players and what they're making. So what's crazy is Davis makes $70 million in 27-28.
Yeah, I remember that. Mhm.
You're telling me in our lifetime we will see a player make $100 million in
Easily.
1 year? That
Yeah,
is that
that's in
is
the next 5 to 10 years.
insane. That is insane. I mean, come on, man. Share some of those dollars back to the fans, right?
Right.
So D'Lo makes 18 million.
Right.
Next year is going to be his last season. So I think
Yes.
they can make that work. You have Austin Reeves, who's on 12 million.
So 18,
I would
that's
say if you're
30.
getting a Trey, I would say you go for it if your goal is to win now. If it's not, then I would look at a Vanderbilt who's 10, but he's making about 12, 13 million until 27, 28. So they locked him up for a while. So that's not a good in my books, given how he's actually been injured. I don't think it's a good contract. I don't think you're going to see teams really chasing that type of contract, unless he's bringing some sort of value in a limited fashion on defense. Apart from that, I mean, they're not going to give up Rui. I
Yeah,
think it's
agreed.
crazy to give up Rui at this point. He's on 17, 18. And that's about it. That's really about it. Everybody else, Gabe Vincent makes 11 million. So yeah, they could definitely add his contract in the mix. Because he would be on a 1 year, 11 million next year. So it's that's all they have
Mm.
really,
I
from
mean,
LA's perspective.
they
So
may have to bring that to the team.
yeah, yeah. I honestly, I'm not too impressed by the construction of this roster. But I guess we could discuss LA another time. That's LA talk, right? Um, but definitely it
It's
should be
not great. It's
interesting.
not bad.
Yeah. So the Hawks, going back to what you said there, I think the Hawks definitely, um, I think they're gonna break that situation up. I think they're gonna start potentially a rebuild if they could get some picks. That's why I think LA, the best bet here is to find a third team. Find a third team
Yeah.
and just rebuild the roster around the 3 stars from next year. Keep Rui. Everybody else is on the table in my books. Um, you need a decent. To me, you need a decent backup to Braun because as he's going to be 40 this year, right? So to me, there's only so much more you could ride him like that. So to me, you need a semi decent. Apart from Trey, you need somebody on like a 18. It should be Rui, really, right? But
It really should be.
but is he ready to take up that mantle when Braun's on the bench?
No.
He's showing signs, but not from a perspective where this guy is a guaranteed
When
bucket at this
LeBron
point.
doesn't play, he shows
Yeah,
signs.
and most games where Rui goes off, something I've noticed. When I dive deep into the numbers, it's 3-pointers. It's not a case where he's like posting up, knocking down shots and doing moves, dominating the paint. It's nothing along those lines. He's either
No.
on fire from three,
Yes,
or has a couple free throws, a little spurt. That's about it. So, yeah. So before we go into your segment, I got a question for you. So,
okay.
On the Western side, so we have 3 teams that seem to be trading spots by the day. Because yesterday I looked at the standings, it was the Wolves. A few days back it was the Thunder. Today in the standings, the Nuggets are on top today. So, yeah. So I have 2 questions. Who gets the 1 seed when it's said and done, the end of this month? And who's your MVP?
Oh, that's some interesting questions there.
Yep. Who is your
Alright, so who's gonna get the 1 seed?
And who's your MVP? And the reason I ask that too is because there's some implications in this race, I believe. Despite it being tight, I think because the conversation has been back and forth, and we have to remember it's the media voting, not cerebral basketball fans. It's actually the media. So so that should be interesting in that sense, right?
So all about the narrative.
All about the narrative. That's all it's been about.
So right now, basically 1, 2, and 3 have pretty much the same record. The Nuggets are only number 1, right? The Nuggets are only number 1 because they played one more game and they won that one game. So they're only technically a half a game in front, right? So the Nuggets have 53 wins, and the Timberwolves and the Thunder have 52 wins. That's the only reason why the Nuggets are number 1. You see, it's difficult to say who's going to be number 1. I can give you the number 1 I think is going to be number 1, but it's difficult to say mainly because you don't know about resting.
Yes.
So like, are the Nuggets going to rest, or are they trying not to play who's in the Lakers at 8? Like if the Lakers make the play-in, or they're not trying to play the Suns. Like I wouldn't want to play the Suns.
I wouldn't
want to play the Lakers the first round either.
No. You're not gonna want to do that. And this is serious because the Lakers are now 43 and 33, and I mean up to 5th place is 30 losses, right? So really, all of those teams are within striking range this month. So this should be an interesting. This is an interesting Western Conference, man. I mean, it's vibing with a lot of potential.
Yeah,
I think pretenders in the list. I'll name them for you. The Wolves.
No, wait, we don't go there. Don't go there.
Yeah, you didn't answer the question, so go ahead. Go ahead.
Listen.
Go ahead.
We'll go to the pretenders just now.
Go ahead.
What I will say though,
that's your field. I'm not going to go into. That's your field.
What I will say is, I think the Wolves will end up in number 1. Right, and the reason for that is, I think the Nuggets are gonna rest. They're gonna rest Jokic like a game or 2, right?
Right.
They're gonna get off the gas a little because I don't think they necessarily need the 1 seed to win. They can take the 2, right? You can say the Kings are difficult. But I mean, I think the Suns, if the Suns stay at number 8, I think the Suns match up well against the Nuggets, and I don't think they want to play KD. I don't think. I don't know about anybody. I don't want to play KD in the first round, right? So I think the Timberwolves will get number 1 mainly because Cat is out and they need to keep their foot on the gas.
Right.
And then the second part of the question, who I think is going to win MVP. So most likely it's a 3-headed race, and third place, the worst situation right now for the OKC Thunder is third place. So I think I have Shai,
Right.
SGA as the MVP.
I'm wary. I want him to get it, but
Yeah.
I'm wary about the narrative, man.
Yeah,
I'm just really wary about, because the strongest case, especially if the Nuggets don't sit back, and I don't think they sit back because they will try to push that narrative as well. I think they're going to keep Jokic active, and I think he's going to push for it as well because he knows it's a tight race at this point.
he does.
To me, there are 3 clear names that going into the end of the season right now for me. For me, it's Jokic and Shea and Luka. For me, those are the 3. And
I agree. But we know Luka is not going to get it.
Luka, because of the record, unfortunately, is might be a little. He might be drifting a bit far out from
Not unless he averages a triple-double.
Right. And yeah, it all comes down to that narrative. So I think if the Thunder will try and push, I think that as a young team, they'll try and push. So there's a good chance they end up on top. But it's gonna be, you're gonna have part of the crowd, media that would seek to have Jokic win another MVP, man. So remember, this was a one pony race when the season started for me.
Oh.
Embiid was
killing everybody.
For me, was killing everybody, and then got injured. So, so it's interesting in that aspect. So, yeah. All right. So you said you had a new segment here for us, right? In terms of
new segment.
The contenders.
It's a closer to playoff segment. So what we got is a contender, pretender,
right?
Ahead, for heading into playoffs. We need to know who you think is going to be a real chance to win, and who you think is just they got a good record, but it's not going to lead them anywhere.
All right.
So the first name is on the list. We spoke about them earlier. The Boston Celtics. Are they a contender or a pretender?
My personal opinion, I say a pretender. Ooh, and that goes back to it goes back to the fourth quarter. It goes back to who's gonna deliver for you in those tight games. When you're facing playoff Jimmy and you're trading buckets in the fourth quarter. When you're facing a Giannis and that team, and the paint is locked down, you got perimeter defenders all over you with length, etc. Who is going to, and I shouldn't say length because you got guys like Lillard and so on that they'll have to cover, but who's going to deliver those points for you in the fourth quarter, right? So the question for me is always, we know playoff basketball slows down. We know that the time seems to stand still, and you need big players to step forward, players that are not nervous in the moment, right? I don't know. In JT's case, I don't even think it's a nervous problem. He's willing to shoot the ball. He's shown that, right? He'll take the shot. But it's the consistency that we talked about in past episodes that still plagues this game, I think. And that's what has made some Boston fans, it's made analysts out there, as we say, we call them analysts, but, question his game, right? And I think he's a superstar at this point. He's done enough to do that. He's definitely recognized by other superstars. But I just don't see the Celtics making the finals this year. I don't see it. So for that reason, and the expectations given on this team, I would say they're pretending to be what they're not. Yeah.
That's fair. I mean, I have them as contenders because I think this is the best team they've had for the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years.
Have to agree.
Right?
This is
the only problem that we spoke about earlier is the closing.
And it's a big
That's the
problem.
only problem to me, at least. It is a big problem,
Yeah.
but I mean, it's not going to change, right? It's not going to change, but sometimes, like most playoffs that we've seen, you just need a little luck,
You do. You do.
right?
That's the truth about it.
A guy will just miss a shot.
Yeah. It's the truth, right?
Right?
So at the end of the day, I just can't put them as contenders. People will look at the record and say contenders based on that. If that's the criteria, then I get it. But what I'm looking at is a bigger picture. When you get into those tight moments, because you're gonna have every year, expect tight, epic performances from different teams. The good teams that will trade shots, and you need shot makers in the fourth that are consistent, that will show up every game.
Fact.
Part of the reason why this particular young
Yeah.
team has seen so many game sevens is the inconsistency in games. They'll show up at home, and then in the away
That's
games,
good.
it's a given that they'll lose the
On the
game
road.
because they
Yeah.
just don't have the composure out there. So at this point, I think people expect a lot from this team. So I'm gonna stick with pretenders. I just don't see them making it to the finals, given
All
what
right.
exists in the East right now. But we'll see. It's
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. So on to our next contender or pretender.
All
I guess
right.
the next one on the list, Oklahoma City Thunder. Are they a contender
Ah.
or pretender?
So this is an interesting one
Ooh,
because
he says,
I respect what OKC has done with all the picks and the
yeah,
all of those picks, what they turned it into. You have to give
yeah,
credit to a team that has been highly criticized for dropping the ball when it came to that past team that we talked about, right?
correct.
With how dynamic they were, etc. This team of the top 3 teams in the West is the most beatable in my books of the top
Ooh,
3.
okay.
In other words,
That's fair.
if I am any team sitting where the Suns, Lakers, Warriors are sitting, I am looking at this for a 1 seed to be the Thunder. I do not
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
play the
I agree.
Nuggets off the bun. I don't want to play the Nuggets. I don't want to play potentially the Timberwolves, even though the Timberwolves fall into that category as beatable for me. They're playing at a consistent level and beating the
Yes.
teams they need to beat, and you have to give them kudos. But which are the teams, and it goes back to who has playoff experience, who doesn't. And when you look at the teams that don't have the playoff experience,
Thunder
it's
has
the
none.
Thunder, it's the Thunder, and it's the Wolves. The Wolves have some really,
Yeah.
You look at Pat Bev's um, play in victory. I guess you could count that, and so they have some minimum playoff experience, but I don't think it's enough to be considered anything that could be used to benefit the team at this point. Um, yeah, I mean the Timberwolves, the T Wolves have a better shot of beating the teams than the Thunder. I think if I'm one of those teams sitting in the bottom half, man, I'm looking to play the Thunder as best as I can. Match me up with the Thunder because I have a
Yeah.
shot against that team. Yeah, I would say based on that, I would call them pretenders. But I respect their
Pretender. I
record.
mean, okay.
I respect what they're doing. They might win the first round, but once they play a team that has playoff experience, the Suns, the Lakers, the Warriors, whoever gets out of that bunch in the play-in, they're gonna have a field day with the Thunder if they end up playing the Thunder. That's my opinion. Yeah. Um,
Right.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you in the terms of Sam Presti did a great job with those draft
Yeah.
picks, turning it
Absolutely.
into a great team.
Absolutely.
Like it is the young one of the youngest teams in the
Yeah.
NBA, right?
You got to give
Done
them
a
that.
great job.
I was looking at the average age
I'll give them
versus the
that.
college teams, right?
Right,
In the
and they're young.
NCAA. They're younger. Average age is
Yeah,
younger.
that's
It's
crazy.
crazy.
That's
It's
crazy.
crazy.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in my books, they're also pretenders, but I think if they're able to get like a first round, if they get the Kings maybe,
Right.
in the first round, I think they could probably win that round. But
Absolutely.
just that. If they
Just
get
that.
any other seasoned team, Suns,
Yeah.
Lakers, that type of team, they're in it. They're not. I don't think they'll be able
Those
to
teams
keep up.
know how to grind
Win
out
4 games.
a
Yeah.
win, over 4 games. I just think it's too much. Um, which makes me question the West because it's a lot of teams like that. I think during the regular season, the Lakers just don't have the legs. The Suns may not
Yeah.
have the type of legs needed to keep up with a high paced team like the Kings or the Pels. So these young teams are starting to perform more, a lot better during the regular season. But I think when you slow the pace down, the crowds
It's the
get more
pace.
intense. The game shifts more to the half court, and you have to run proper sets and execute at the highest level with all that noise. The lights get brighter, man, and we've seen teams shrink. Look at the Pelicans when the lights are off, right? When the in-season tournament got to a point where games mattered. Look at what happened to that team versus what happened now. People attribute it to Zion's weight. I don't think it's attributed to his weight. I think a lot of players perform different under the lights. We've seen it with a couple good
Yeah.
players when placed on in big markets, and we've wondered what has
Yeah.
happened to this player, right? So let's see how it all pans out. But honestly, I know some of these teams are on the way out. I would rather have the Warriors, Lakers, Suns all in the playoffs, all in the playoffs.
I
So
agree. I
yeah,
agree.
but
I agree completely.
unfortunately, it's not looking like it may happen. It depends on if they can claw back against the Mavs, and maybe the Pels start falling out of contention. Maybe the Kings start slipping a couple games. It's going to rely on the other teams losing
We don't
games
have
because at
much
the moment,
games left.
yeah, it's not many games left. That's the problem. So I think how many games are there? We're already up to 75 games. So you have
So it's like
what,
six
six,
games.
7 games left. It's not much. So those teams, I know Lakers were on a run, right? They were on a 7 game
They
win streak,
are.
I think. Yeah.
That is correct.
And Warriors won a few, I think. So they've been trying to keep
Yeah.
pace as well. The Rockets have looked at one point they
The
looked
Rocks
like
have
they were
won
going
a
to
couple.
threaten, but then I think they fell back a bit.
They
So
dropped off.
yeah. Um, so I think it's starting to solidify now. But what I would like to see the Lakers eclipse the Suns and have a Warriors showdown with KD to actually
Ooh,
figure out who gets to play for that 8 spot.
that would,
You know,
that would be
um,
nice.
yeah,
That would be nice.
yep. So, but interesting, man. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So I have another one for you. I got two
All
more
right.
after this.
Sure.
Um, Contender or pretender, the Phoenix Suns.
Ooh, I think that's a contender. I think the reason I say this, yes, hear me out.
Sure.
I know they sit in the 8th spot, but this team has all the firepower to score in tight situations. They have all those players that I talked about that have playoff experience. I've seen Beal and Wall going at it with the Bulls, going at it with live here in Chicago. Trust me, those guys know how to score a bucket. I think if you KD, we know what he brings to the table, right? Booker has been in the finals. I think that team has the experience needed to make some noise. It comes down to the matchups. That's what it boils down to. Who do you match up with early on, and what happens in this play-in period? It's a team that has to be careful too, because KD, as I said, these guys, you have to pace them. It's still, to me, when you get into these playoff situations as the team is currently built, I think these guys are willing to make the sacrifice. So I don't think they have that necessarily to worry about. But it comes down to matchups. I think that's what this is going to boil down to for this team. I don't think the Suns can beat the Nuggets, but I think they can make some noise. I think they can beat a lot of teams there. So it just comes down to the matchups, who they face earlier on, and how they structure. But definitely a contender. I don't think this team is a pretensive team at all.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, again, what about a mediocre defense?
Yeah, the defense, and I know defense wins championships, right? That's going to be a question that a lot of people would potentially have about this team. And it's a legitimate concern. But I still think when you put together a team that has that level of offensive power, you can, in these situations, really dial in and win the games that you need to win. The problem with a team like this, and this goes against what I was saying, is that they don't have home court advantage, especially when your strength is not defense, and you're looking for that type of motivation, that type of ability to really take advantage on the court. You need home games, man. That's my opinion on this. I think you need home games to really push the ball. Um, it's a team with flaws, right? It's not the best constructed team, I would say. Um,
It's
if
not.
if I was the GM of this team, I would have. I mean, they made the right move by getting rid of Aiton, but I just don't like, outside of the big three, how the team is actually complemented.
Constructed.
Constructed to complement those guys, and we
I
could
think they needed
go
a
back
point
to the
guard.
defensive end as well. Yeah, 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 yeah. I think you need someone on the perimeter that can still help. I know you have two guys in the backcourt, but who are Beal and Booker guarding really from the elite offensive side? They're not staying in front of anybody, in my opinion. So, so you need yes a playmaker, but I would have gone for someone defensively pristine on the perimeter. You know, to actually follow up these guys, and also a dominant center. When I say that, someone that is great off the boards, very mobile, and can block shots, as needed.
Okay.
And I don't think they have that in their construction. So
I
that
agree. Jokic is not
goes.
that.
No, no, no. He's not that. He's not that. So, and that makes them beatable. It does make them beatable. But because I cannot ignore the ability to score the basket at that level from these guys, I have to make them a contender.
Fair enough.
I
I think
have
they're
to.
only a contender against the Nuggets because I think they
Yeah,
match up well against the Nuggets. So after
absolutely.
that, I don't have them anywhere past that.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Yeah,
So
big time.
because that defense, the defense and the defense is mediocre, like we said earlier, and then the offense itself, they have a high powered offense, but like it's not fluid. It's still not fluid enough to win.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's
And
what I
I
mean.
I would have shared that prematurely, so I apologize for that. It's gonna put you on the spot, man. We were gonna mix it up, so let me know. Do you have another to share, or on the
One left,
defense?
last
Oh,
one,
okay, okay. My bad there. All
last
right.
one.
Yep.
That's right. The Minnesota Timberwolves. We spoke about them earlier.
Ooh, Ant's too young, man. It's not an age thing, but the experience. This is just a team that doesn't have much. I would say, from the players that they're going to be depending on to deliver, and
Hmm.
the player, I just don't think they have enough to beat some of those teams that are lower in the second half of the table. LA, I can't see them beating LA. I can't see them beating the Suns. I can't see them beating Golden State in a playoff series. Um,
With or without Cat.
with Cat, even when I add him to the equation, and their teams in the middle of the table too, that would cause that team a lot of problems. I think if
Oh,
that
definitely.
team places third, it gets even worse, because I think actually, I could see them beating a Dallas. I could see them um, beating the Clippers team, because even though the Clippers have a lot of strength, you could argue they have um, some balance. I still think that it's a mixture of maybe age, players on a downward trend, not
Hmm.
necessarily what they were defensively. Um, it's a toss up, and but there are definitely some teams in the lower half of the table behind them that can beat them. And I just can't see this team going past the second round, man. And a lot of people have high expectations. I don't know why, but I guess that's just the nature of it. I just don't see them being a contender for me.
I'm 50-50 on them.
Ah,
I can't. Yeah,
ah,
yeah. Like right now, they're balling out without Cat.
yeah, yeah,
When Cat was there, they were playing very well, right?
absolutely, absolutely,
So
absolutely.
add Cat back into the situation. I think
Then
it's
it
gonna back
becomes something.
soon. It's
Yeah,
gonna become something. But
yeah,
it's just I don't trust them.
no, and that's why I said they're pretenders in my eyes. There are too many things that have a good chance of falling apart for this team at the wrong moment, and for
Yes,
that, I just can't have them. Usually with a contender, yes, a player goes down, you know they're still going to perform to some level. They're going to do what they have to do to get through, And for me, I just don't see that being the case with this team. I think you have a lot of teams just sitting at the top, settling into the table because they're just consistent. They were able to put energy into the regular season and win games at a consistent level. But when we're talking playoff contention, that's a totally different beast, right? Just look at the East back then when people used to be like, oh, Boston with IT's a contender. Atlanta, 60 games winning.
Atlanta.
Look what happened to them, right? Toronto, oh man, we got Serge Ibaka, we got Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan until, yeah. I mean, it's,
So
yeah,
LeBron too comes to town.
yeah. So I never saw them as contenders. I never really considered them that. So but it is what it is. That's what people think.
Yeah.
What your thoughts on them?
Uh,
You're 50-50, you said, right? I think
yeah,
you said you're 50-50. Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
No, I don't know.
Yeah. That's
I'm not sold, but I'm not. Yeah.
right. Right. So I got a special segment, of course. There's always a
Let's
special
go.
segment, but
Naturally.
let's do it. Um
Hell,
so
we
the
got.
So the question is, and I'm gonna put it in the middle so we have it there so you could see. Start, bench, cut. There's one extra, of course, in some of these images, but we're gonna mix it up. Now some of these we play basketball and we have it with. Sometimes you could argue it's not the best drink to have while playing basketball, but it is what it is, right? So
Bench.
be careful here, man, because this is not as easy as it looks. I would say it is sort of easy, in fact. There's only one number one here, but again, I respect the opinion.
It
There's only
depends
one
on
number
who
one
you're
here.
talking about.
Start, bench, cut, man.
All right, so in my previous life, my start would be Coca-Cola. Um, these days, I'm more of a. For some reason, so my top two. I'll have to go with my top two, which is Coca-Cola and Fanta. So I just have to find somebody to cut. So
Right.
obviously, the Sprite and the ginger AW
Yeah.
ginger gets cut.
Yeah.
Right now, I'll put Fanta as a starter and Coca as a bench.
Wow. Man, it's Coke all day, man. It's Coke all day. It's definitely Coke all day for me. So, but no, I respect the choice. A Fanta, let me tell you, a cold Fanta on a
Bruh,
hot day,
I
man.
think you
Oh
understand.
my goodness! Of course I understand, man. That's Fanta, man. Yeah, of
Ugh,
course, of
bruh,
course.
Fanta or Coke, and that's it for me.
If anybody cut Fanta, I'm done with them. Seriously, you can't do that. You can't do that. I know a lot of people like Sprite, but you can't
Yeah,
cut Fanta, man.
and the ginger beer is pretty good too.
It's good, but it has its
Yeah, it's
moments.
not. It's not.
On a
Yeah,
hot day, man,
yeah, I want
these
that.
are in the cooler in front of me.
I don't
Somebody
want that.
dips down and pulls up a. Nah, ginger. Nah,
I ain't want
it's
that.
not happening, man.
It's the last on the list.
Start,
Whoa.
bench, cut.
So what are we talking about here now? Is it talking about like for basketball? We talking about for football, aka soccer, or we talking
Man,
about
if
the
you cut it,
general
that
way?
entire brand disappears. That entire brand and everything they've done disappears, man.
So I can cut Under Armour. That's fine. Uh, uh, that's why I kind of got cut too. Damn. I love Puma, but I can't cut. I can't cut Puma. I can't cut Adidas because
Right.
Adidas got a crazy eights, the Kobe
Yeah, no,
crazy
you're not.
eights.
We can't cut Adidas,
I'm not
man.
cutting that.
Remember,
So
we cutting everything, not just sneakers. The clothes
I
goes
know, I know,
everything.
I
Yeah,
know, I know.
come on,
So
man.
we're starting Nike and then we're benching Adidas.
Right. Yeah. Have to. In fact, ooh,
He said,
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no, no. There's because when you add clothing, man, Das
yeah, Adidas
has
is pretty good.
Das has some real good stuff, man. And I've always been super hard on the shell tops, man. I
Hmm.
love my shell tops, man. So I get it though. Nike
Yeah,
first. We'll bench Adidas. No problem.
yeah.
All right. Start, bench, cut. No, I know you have some trios here, but we're still involving them.
Is that like Larry and Robert Patch?
Yep. Robert
Okay.
Parrish. Yep.
And McHale?
Yep.
Okay. So we're gonna start that Boston team.
Ah, yeah. Makes sense.
Uh, I'm gonna bench the Cavs team
Right.
with Curry
And cut
and
the
cut the
others.
two. Yeah.
I don't see any reason not to agree with that. Um
Yeah.
if it's just my fan liking, that Cavs Kyrie, man. The
I
moves he was
mean,
doing. Whew. Especially the younger version of that Kyrie. Oh
oh
my
yeah,
goodness, man.
oh
Just insane, man. But I get it. I get
yeah,
it. Yeah.
true.
Trade deadline D'Lo, Ramadan Kyrie, family to feed Jalen. Start bench cut.
This is funny. This is funny. I mean, Ramadan Kyrie is not that great. I don't understand why we keep
Yeah.
saying he's not that great.
He's had some streaks, man. He's had some serious streaks, man. You know,
On
so
Ramadan, don't forget when he lost last year to the Celtics. He was on
true,
Ramadan.
true,
He
true.
had one good game, one good game. Right. Even
Ah,
though this year was a little better,
right.
but it was still up and down. It wasn't crazy consistent. So I'm gonna cut Ramadan Kyrie.
Wow.
Uh, I'm gonna take feed my family Jalen, and
Yeah.
as a starter, and I'm a bench trade deadline D'Lo.
Hey, that's huge right there, man. That's huge. Let me tell you, Jalen, if he continues to play like this
This
guy is on his
yeah,
way,
yeah,
man. Like this
got three
guy,
skills, yo.
I don't even know, like his energy on the court right now.
Crazy. It's crazy.
I
I don't
don't
know.
even.
Somebody said something. Something
This
just
guy
something clicked.
I mean,
Something clicked.
yeah, I was telling myself today, I was like, if Braun retires, like this guy is somebody I could be a fan of, man. Like his energy on the court,
Just goes.
his energy is just like Westbrook type energy,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
committed,
Let's
you know.
go.
But his
Oh,
the polish and the style on the court, I
mhm,
prefer his game, you
mhm.
know. I can't really say he has that jump shot though. That's
That's
not really the game right now. But
not yet.
he's young, man. He's young, man. That that
He'll
that
develop
guy
that sooner or later.
that's he's serious. But I agree with this. Definitely. Start,
Okay.
bench, cut.
So the bottom left is that Akeem
Yep.
and Schlupp,
Drexler. Yep.
but they didn't win anything.
Nope. They did not.
So bye bye. Um,
Suns didn't win either up top.
yeah. So then they gone too.
Yep.
I'm gonna take obviously the LeBronettes
Heatles.
as the Heatles. I'm gonna take them as a starter, and I'm gonna bench the Nuggets.
Yeah, I think this one is straightforward. I think this
Yeah.
one is straightforward.
Wow.
Yep. This one has always been every start of the year, this comes up, right? This comes up. So I know we're crossing over, but I'd like to know who you're starting, who you're benching, who you're cutting.
So my favorite quarterback of all time, most people don't know this, is Peyton Manning,
Oh wow. Wow.
right? And I can admit that Tom Brady's the GOAT.
Right.
And I can also admit that Mahomes is one of the best quarterbacks I've seen since the two of them.
Yeah.
So, who am I going to cut?
Not easy.
Who am
Good
I going
luck.
to cut?
Good luck. Good luck.
Because the thing is, Mahomes has already won, what is it, 2, 3?
3. Yeah.
3,
He's won 3.
right? My boy Peyton only has 2.
Yeah. That's difficult, man. That's difficult.
I mean, I got to start Tom.
Yeah. This is one of those situations where I don't think there's a wrong answer. You know,
I mean, unless you're cutting Tom.
yeah. 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 Yep.
Just because I prefer Peyton and his style, I'm going to have
Right.
a bench. Only because. Apart from that, I don't know.
Yeah. I honestly, I would cut Peyton from my end. I would
What?
cut Peyton.
Are we doing it based on the uniforms?
No, not necessarily.
Okay. All
No.
right, cool. All right,
Yeah.
if it's not based on the uniforms, then we stay that way. If it is based on the uniforms, then I'll cut Peyton.
Okay. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No. Not base. Just overall.
All right, cool.
What we think they are.
Yeah. Ooh.
Reggie.
All right, so it's Reggie,
Ray.
Jesus,
Clay.
and Clay.
Yep. And we're talking peak.
I know our boy, our boy Pianki will be like Reggie. All day.
Yeah. I wish we had him here for this segment, man.
Reggie.
We got to get him on. We got to get him on. By the way, shout out to P.
Damn. Who am I cutting?
It's not easy, man.
It's not. We're talking about
easy.
peak. Okay, because Clay, a hot Clay is better shooter than everybody on this list.
Yeah. I think if I had to trade for a player at their peak,
I'll trade for Ray Allen.
you had to draft one of these at their peak. Who you drafting first?
If I'm drafting at their
You're
peak,
drafting at the peak.
Ray Allen.
Wow.
Ray Allen is underrated. I believe.
I'm taking Reggie either way.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah. I just think peak Reggie is like
Phenomenal.
so problematic, man. The only reason this guy doesn't have a chip is, well,
because he chose to do a layup.
Kobe and Jordan. Kobe and Jordan.
He chose to do a layup when he should have dunked it.
Yeah.
I know you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Of course, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. I mean, he's still a problem, though. He's still a problem, regardless.
So I'll start. I'm gonna start Jesus. And for those who don't know who Jesus is, that's Ray Allen. I'm a bench Reggie.
All right. No, that's yeah. I mean, yeah. I think the only thing we would differ on is really Reggie.
Yeah.
And but I think we're aligned. Start, bench, cut. We're not done yet.
Bruh. All right, so the most complete player on this list, the most skilled player on this list,
Let's hear this.
is Paul George.
Yeah.
Most complete player on the list is Paul George.
Yeah, because he's the best. He's the most two-sided player in all of these guys.
But if we're gonna say based on who I prefer and who I want on my team, my first pick will be T-Mac. As in, I'll start T-Mac. I'll probably bench. Damn.
So, question.
Yeah, I'm bench middle.
So, question here: who's the most offensively gifted, talented in all of these three?
T-Mac. Of the three, I think T Mac is the most.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Gifted, yeah. I would say that.
Yeah.
I would say offensively skilled. I'm going with Melo.
Fair.
I would say most balanced. I would go with Paul George
Yes.
overall.
Yes.
But yeah, that's that. Yeah, that.
PG Paul George is like a bigger Kyrie to me.
Yeah, you could argue that. You could argue that. He's what Kyrie would be if he was that tall with that amount of weight to
Yes.
carry around,
Correct.
potentially. Yeah.
That's what, yeah.
Yep. Yep. I could see that. I could see that. So the question is, who do you start?
Yeah, man, I'm starting T Mac.
T Mac. Who you cutting?
I don't want. I don't. If I have T Mac, then I don't need Melo.
Right. Right.
So I have Paul George on the bench. That's my justification. That's my justification for it. If I have T Mac, I don't need Melo because that's no defense.
Yeah, I'm not leaving T Mac off this squad. So T Mac definitely I have to agree with you on.
You're gonna bench Melo, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna bench Melo, man. But I respect your choice. I can't critique your choice because you have all the valid reasons for it, right? So yeah, no, I have to agree. Start, bench, cut.
Who we got here?
We got Paul Pierce, Truth. We got Scotty, and we got James Worthy.
Ooh, we got James. Okay.
Yeah. I know it's a bit cropped badly there, but yeah.
So I was trying to see who that was. Okay. All right. So I'm starting Scotty, benching James Worthy. I'm gonna cut Paul Pierce.
Wow. I think that's tough. But I have to agree. I have to agree. I have to agree. I have to agree. I don't think you could do it any other way. Yeah. As much as I admire Paul Pierce's games, yeah, Paul. The other two guys are two-way players as well, right? So yeah. There's no other answer to that. I think. Start, bench, cut.
Wow.
Yeah, this is not easy, man. It's not easy.
You're making it difficult
It's not
today.
easy, man. It's not easy.
The Admiral, fake Superman, Patrick Ewing. You practice that shot.
Hey, be careful, man. We might get these guys on the show. You're gonna have to answer for calling them fake Superman, man. Be careful.
It's tough. All right, I have to justify it.
Yeah.
Let me see. How do I justify it? I think Patrick had a better offensive game than Dwight. But Dwight, I thought was it's obviously a better defensive player. Admiral is above some killer points. But they all got their tails busted by Akeem.
He did.
Akeem killed both Patrick and the Admiral.
Yep.
Playoffs. So who would I start if I had it?
This is not easy. This is really not easy.
This was tough. All right, so let me go with the Admiral at starter. I'm a bench. I have the Admiral at starter. Give me some defense. Give me Dwight.
Wow.
I'll bench Dwight.
Wow. Cutting 33 New York?
I gotta cut.
Wow.
I'm sorry. It's a tough decision.
Yikes.
It's nothing personal.
Yeah. No, it's a tough one. It's not easy. That's an interesting choice. I would probably the Admiral. Man, I gotta give props to the Admiral. I don't think Tim Duncan would be the person, the player he would be if the Admiral was not there.
Correct.
So I gotta go with the Admiral for just his level of play, right?
Hmm.
And I think, ooh, yeah, I think Dwight is. I think if you look at his record and his resume, I think it's a bit. It gives him the edge over Pat. But this is closer than most people think, man.
Yeah, it's close.
You could easily start Patrick Ewing, man. You could
Oh yeah.
easily argue for it,
All right,
you know.
all right, all right.
So that's interesting. All right, I got the last one for you, man.
All right, so I can't see the two on the outskirts,
Oh, you got Rondo,
right?
Chauncey, and Tony Parker.
uh, 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 I'm starting Rondo,
Okay. All right.
um, and because I've been such a great Spurs fan over the years, I'm gonna bench Tony Parker and
Right.
leave out Big Shot.
Yeah.
Not Big
I
Shot, but
I
Big Shot. Big
I'm I'm
Billups.
s- I think
Big Shot.
I would flip mine. We'd have the
Okay.
same, but I'm starting Tony, benching Rondo,
Okay.
and and cutting
Billups.
Phillips. So definitely. No, I think you did good, man. As usual. I think
Yeah,
you
that
were
wasn't bad.
trying to keep
That was a little difficult. That was a
Yeah,
little
yeah, yeah.
difficult.
It wasn't easy, man.
That was a little
Once you
difficult.
take out those traditional names, it becomes really difficult. But definitely we'll continue with the SBCs, and I'm sure we'll have more contenders, pretenders in there as well. So by the way, we got a special guest, so look out for the ads next week. We're gonna have someone definitely that you're gonna enjoy.
Mhm.
Um, we're talking about a major league sport on the women's side of basketball. We're going to have someone that works within one of the organizations. We're going to be revealing who that is before the end of the week. So definitely stay tuned. We're going to try to add a little spice to that show. So you'll definitely want to tune in because there will be something to potentially win as well. So definitely tune in. We'll be doing maybe a small giveaway of something next week as well to coincide with that. So definitely just follow the page, follow us on YouTube and on Facebook, where we generally are floating around with different
Yep.
posts, etc. And we're on Instagram as well. So check out the posts on Instagram if you want to keep up to date with the guests that we'll have. So stay tuned. The guests will continue coming in. Again, we are aiming for 10 weeks of episodes, so don't miss it. If you want to tune in at a later time, be sure to tune in on Facebook and YouTube for the full length videos that we have of each episode, and we go from there. So yeah, I'm excited for next week, man. I'm
Same.
excited.
I mean, I
Yeah,
can't wait. This is gonna
yeah,
be
i'm,
big.
I'm definitely excited. So we may have to record some pre-sessions, man, leading up to next week's show, man. It
I
should be
think so.
interesting, right? Yeah, get people to know what's really going on. So definitely stay tuned for that, and we'll be on it, man. So I don't know if Mike has anything to say to you before
Oh,
we bounce, but
appreciate you
yeah,
for having us.
yeah,
Appreciate you guys for joining us as always. This episode was it 4? So we got like almost halfway there.
yep.
So just keep just keep going with us. It's only
we,
10
we,
episodes,
we're
guys.
gonna turn up the heat a little bit in the room next week, man. So oh yeah, definitely, definitely. So definitely tune in, and we'll definitely be getting with you guys soon. Be sure to catch us on here. You know what time it is? Every Wednesday, 8:30 p.m. Central. The Collective Bargaining Podcast. You know how we put it down.
Yes, sir.